All right, everybody, it's industry professionals.
November 2nd.
You know what it. All right, everybody, it's industry professionals. You know what it is. We're back, baby. Today we're talking about early Peter Jackson movies, essentially anything before Lord of the Rings,
Not counting
Heavenly Creatures. Yeah.
No. So
We really dropped the ball on that one.
it's like one dude who was really psyched when we're like early Peter Jackson. They're like, yes, my favorite
Heavenly
film.
Creatures?
Yeah, ooh. Well, good news and bad news.
Yeah, we're not doing that one. But of course, we're doing like all of his horror movies, and then the gross puppet movie.
Yeah, they're all, I would say, with the only exception being The Frighteners, they're all like
they're all disgusting.
they're all like splatter, like satirical
Yeah.
splatter movies.
Yeah, they're super campy, super not serious.
Which it's hard to tell what in that genre is satirizing the genre and what is just
the genre.
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I figure it's like late '80s, early '90s. I figure it's satire.
Yeah, like he has
and
to
it
be
is
self-aware.
like they're all comedies.
Yeah, they all have like that zany sense to them where they're supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up first is Bad Taste, made in 1987.
This was his first film.
Very first film, has a budget of $11,000.
Yeah.
which is
Jeez.
very apparent because the movie
It
is.
looks awful, but
That being said, it's got charm.
I think it has charm. I don't know. Let's just run down the plot, I guess.
Plot.
The plot. I was looking at a synopsis on Wikipedia, and it's so short because it's just
It's
like
literally
there's
a
not.
sent. G-men learn that aliens are harvesting New Zealanders for an intergalactic restaurant in this gory horror
They're
parody.
harvesting the New Zealanders.
Yeah, let's do this whole episode in New Zealand accents.
It's the plan.
Sounds good. I'm not doing that. That's
There
bad.
was like I noticed early on there was like a New Zealand inside joke
Oh, really?
that I'm just like I
Yeah.
have no contact. But
Whoops.
where it's like they were talking about they're like everybody in this village is up and gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the aliens the space aliens got him. And then he was like but maybe this was they could be to a bigger town like Queensland or something or
Yeah.
something else, and I only knew Queensland,
Ooh.
Queensland, Auckland or something, and then the third thing the guy's like, well, that might not be that bad,
Oh,
and I'm like,
'cause-
that's good dude, sick New Zealand joke.
Yeah, it's
like
some geographical humor
yeah,
right there.
that one probably kills it in the country of like 1,400 people.
Yeah, in the country with the amount of people apparent to the budget.
It's that
Dude, I think in this movie everybody in New Zealand showed
everyone
up.
everybody turned out.
Everybody's just
actors
a
are
dude
all-
in a blue shirt and jeans.
It's like in the movie, the people in the movie are Peter Jackson, Taika Waititi, the two guys from Flight of the Conchords, and then like the Prime Minister, like
Who's also an opera singer.
the Secretary of the Treasury, like
Yeah.
who's also an opera singer. We were talking about this because Peter Jackson is a member of the Order of New Zealand, which is just like their knights, and we were talking about how like there is nobody that we as ignorant people would recognize other than Peter Jackson. Like it's him, a famous opera singer from like a long time ago, and then just all former prime ministers and like Sir Edmund Hillary, the dude who like scaled Mount Everest. So that's pretty much it for the Order of New Zealand. How are you guys doing today? As everybody out there in Radio Land.
Sorry, I was trying to fix this fan that's just on. Sorry if everybody can hear that. Anyway, we were talking about how Peter Jackson's one of the Knights of New Zealand.
And I'd be mad I'd be mad if I was Taika Waititi, where it's like I'm the one other director from New Zealand that anybody knows.
Yeah.
And like not in the order, so Wow.
Yeah, you just gotta get a little more cred. He's
That's
got to
true.
make a trilogy all at once.
He's got to make a trilogy. Yeah. He's got to.
They really should have gotten him for those Hobbit movies.
It's like, man,
There was some missed potential there.
man, that sucks, man.
The Hobbit movies?
Yeah, because it's also just like you have a thing, and then the fact that you made like an equal in terms of hours, like you created
Yeah.
an equal thing that's bad. So it's like now I can't.
Be
Now you're like half good.
Yeah, now you're not the guy who made the Lord of the Rings movies that everybody likes. You're also the guy who made all the Hobbit movies that everybody's mixed on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like George Lucas, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
dude, if people like 50% of the stuff you made, like, how good are you?
I think it's that, but to a way lesser extent, because I think Peter Jackson, from what I've read, got sort of thrown into the whole
Yeah.
Hobbit trilogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, originally it was Guillermo del Toro only directing 2 movies, and then it ended up Peter
Do you
Jackson.
think they just got like the two confused? The people at New Line, like Guillermo del Toro was walking by and they just saw like a big dude
Big
with
dude
like
with
an
a beard.
insane beard, and they were just like,
Peter?
Peter! And he's like, no, it's actually me, Paul Giamatti.
Quit following me around.
Yeah, I'm not. You guys.
Okay, yeah.
That's a callback to a thing that.
It's a callback from when we were just eating breakfast over there. So yeah, Bad Taste is literally, it's like an alien invasion movie.
A very.
Very loosely an
Very
alien
loosely.
invasion movie. It's like, it starts out so abrupt. It's like, quick, get the boys, and then they
Well,
hit a boys button right under Mom and
that's-
Queen.
Mum.
Mum and the Queen.
So
yeah.
that was another thing that because I watched these not in chronological order, so I was really weirded out by the Queen at the start of so many of the movies. Mm-hmm. It took me a little bit to, because I thought that was like a signature, like because they're like satire, like are they making a point about like imperialism? No, it's like the film grant of New Zealand. Which, how insane is that in the 90s New Zealand's film board like still is like, check out the Queen of England.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess that is a little out of touch.
Well, also because the one I watched first was
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive, which starts with like a colonialism scene.
Oh yeah, it does.
So I was like, is this like a thing?
It's not.
No. So yeah, it's Mum, the Queen, and the boys.
The boys, and
it's
they
a
push
guy-
the boys.
And it's a guy with like a hook hand, but the hook is a finger.
Yeah, the hook is just a finger.
Never elaborated on.
Never seen again.
Never
really.
anything.
I love that.
And it was
though.
hidden in shadow, so it's not even like a.
You get to see the finger in some of the shots.
You're just like, that guy's hand is weird.
Oh, it's just a finger.
And then it's just basically really low budget, like people driving around. I'm trying to think of what movie to even compare the level of.
You could compare it to Blair Witch because it's essentially people running around the woods.
Yeah, that's not actually that bad.
Yeah,
That's pretty close.
I mean, obviously this one probably has a higher budget just due to like
I don't know,
the
actually.
aliens at the end, and then like
They look awful.
they look awful, but they still have them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Blair Witch, I'm just thinking had marketing, but that's who cares?
Yeah,
this is not.
yeah.
We're going on
We're going on strictly production budgets.
strictly production.
Production budgets. Oh God, sorry. Anyway, so the poster for this movie is really misleading.
Yeah, it's like a.
It's one of the aliens on the cover, but you can't really tell it's an alien. You just sort of think it's like a blown up dude, essentially, with like, and he has an AK and he's got
He's giving the
profane
finger.
hand gesture.
And he's giving the finger.
Yeah.
Oh, are we not allowed to say the finger on air? One of the.
I mean, we already were
Yeah, we
talking
can't
about the
say-
hook finger, so why not this finger? But yeah. And then those guys don't show up until literally the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, which I think is cool. Like I think
Which I think
that's
is
a cool
fine,
thing,
but
because they're
don't
like
put it
body
on the-
snatcher type aliens. more
Yeah,
is the vibe.
I get it, but don't put that on the poster then. Don't mislead
You gotta.
me like that.
I mean, but what else is the poster? What else would you
aware.
put on that poster?
I'm aware. You could put Peter Jackson dangling off a cliff with his eyes crossed.
That was so annoying.
That was great. No, it wasn't. It was annoying. But
You
yeah.
could put the dude who has a gun.
You could put the van with all the Beatles in it.
This movie is weird.
This
It
movie
really
we
is.
should probably start talking about the
it's
movie.
very difficult. It was very difficult for me to tell what was an intentional level of weirdness, what was baked into the script, and what was weirdness that came about from it being him and his friends making a weird movie.
Yeah, this very much is him and his friends making a movie. I don't think there's a single girl in this movie, is there? It's literally all men.
No, but he met his partner while working on it.
Oh, that's
So
true.
I did a
His-
lot of research.
Fran Welsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, this movie.
She was in a punk band at the time.
Oh wow.
No, dude, she's awesome. And
Yeah?
like I didn't know anything about
She's.
her. And
I mean, those movies that they wrote together are pretty.
she wrote.
Pretty something.
She's worked on every movie he's worked on.
Yeah, I thought so. But yeah, so essentially it just starts out with like a guy tracking down a guy in a blue shirt and blue jeans.
Well,
and then he kills that guy.
yeah.
And then there's like Peter Jackson.
We don't know why. He
don't
kills
know
it.
why.
He shoots a guy, and it's like we get like the sound effect is like. like it's always like
Yeah.
these goop-ass goop sounds.
Yeah.
These are all super goopy movies.
Oh my god, they're the goopiest.
Which ties into our theme of, I think we've watched maybe a goopy movie every week.
Yeah.
We did body horror.
Body
we
horror
did
was.
Spy Kids had prominent goop.
That's true. There was a lot of goop and slime.
Was there goop in an SNL movie? Probably.
Yeah,
Probably the Coneheads. Like
yeah,
ate goop or
Coneheads.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Pat oozed goop. No, but yeah, so it starts out with somebody getting decapitated in this movie, and
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
like
that's apparently that's a Peter Jackson thing. Is
Decapitations?
axes.
axes.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like shots of axes. Like like wood cutting axes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They're in a lot of his. I was watching a thing because I'm like,
They are
what
in
are Peter
Frighteners,
Jackson's? I didn't know what to look for. Like, what are his
Yeah.
things? And the answer is like it's kind of hard to track what his things are because
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is so different.
He has a
from everything else.
diverse filmography.
But there's a lot of axes.
Okay, noted. But yeah, he in these early movies of Peter Jackson's before he did the Lord of the Rings, he's in like all of them.
He's in all of them still.
Oh, really?
He's in all the Lord of the Rings movies like a couple
He
times.
is? Oh,
He's in
jeez. I did not know that.
or maybe he's in it there once per movie. But he's
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
see. He is.
Oh boy.
He's one of the evil men in. Oh no, he's in. This might be in The Hobbit or it might be in the first one. But when they get to the city of Bree, he's in it. He's just a dude in the rain.
I bet.
In the second one, when Saruman has his evil men go attack Rohan and be like, "They have taken your lands. Go!" He's one of the crazy guys with the beard. He's like, "Ah!"
Sure.
He's at Helm's Deep. He throws a rock at somebody.
Okay.
And he's on the boat of Corsairs in Return of the King.
So he's in a boat scene. He's an army guy. And
Yeah,
he's
I
getting
mean, it's
rained
never
on.
like, you notice because you're looking for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotcha. I wasn't looking for it in these movies though, and he was very apparent. Especially
also in
in
Shaun of
Bad
the Dead.
Taste. He is.
Yeah, in the very beginning when
is.
it's
Yeah.
Sergeant Nicholas Angel was then given the award of service after being stabbed by a man dressed as Father Christmas. That's him.
Oh my God! I totally. Yeah, that's from Shaun of the Dead.
And I think that
Wow.
Shaun of the Dead, not Shaun of the Dead, sorry, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I know.
And I think
I
that
knew what you
Edgar
were
Wright
talking about.
probably for Shaun of the Dead was heavily inspired by Dead Alive. I would not be
I
surprised.
could see it. Yeah.
But
I mean,
we'll get to that.
it's not as extreme though.
I took some notes. Of
Okay, cool. I
moments,
got notes too. Yeah. So let's just stay on topic with Bad Taste here. This movie is mainly people running around the woods. Peter
There's
Jackson.
not much plot or much.
It's so thin plot wise, but Peter Jackson plays two people in this
Mm-hmm.
movie. He plays like an alien henchman, and he plays one of the leads. And I didn't know he was one of the leads until after the movie
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't have like his long hair, beard,
Yeah.
and he has like a higher pitched voice and shit, and like and glasses, and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I found out it was him at the end, in the end, he goes into an alien. He jumps down. He decapitates an alien.
Yeah.
And
The
then-
movie's like hyper violent.
So
And
hyper-violent.
the special effects are bad. But,
Horrible.
But
Except for in this one scene I'm talking about.
but
This
the
one scene-
budget makes them then admirable, I feel like.
Yeah,
They did
what they
did
could.
a lot
yeah.
with a very small amount.
Honestly,
of
when I saw the budget was 11,000, that was less than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Just inflation, I guess. I didn't take that into account. But yeah,
So the story is that the aliens are here doing body snatchers. They work for.
they work for like a head honcho alien.
The our heroes work for like a government agency.
yeah.
Which is even weirder because they're all clearly like
Just
they're like
guys.
they're like young.
Yeah.
They just look like him and his like
They-
presumably stoner.
They look like a
friends.
bunch of college buddies making
Yeah.
a movie together.
Yeah, so when they're like we're with the government, it rings very
okay.
hollow.
Yeah. But yeah. I actually don't have a ton of notes for this movie because I forgot to take them while I was
Inside,
watching.
I wrote inside New Zealand jokes.
lot of
Yeah,
those.
it felt like I was watching an accidental snuff film. like it wasn't like supposed to feel like that, but I was like, am I about to watch somebody be killed for real? Like,
Did you like the part where Peter Jackson's henchman character throws up a bunch of green goop and then all of the aliens
my
take a
next
sip?
note is so goopy.
There's a lot of slime, a lot of goop, a lot of blood,
goop.
just like insane amount of fluids in this and
in
Dead
all
Alive.
of them.
I'd say
Dead
mainly
Alive
in this
was
one and Dead
actually
Alive.
disgusting.
No, Dead Alive is like a truly disturbing movie.
Not this. I wouldn't say
just based on
disturbing.
the level of goop and slime. Like,
but we're talking unprecedented goop levels.
no, apparently, Dead Alive is known as like the bloodiest movie ever made.
That might be.
That I could see that being true because I haven't seen a lot of movies with that much blood.
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
But Bad Taste, like what? I mean,
right,
what
yeah.
else is it? It got. Here's the thing. It got submitted to a film festival. It got a limited.
Jump started
distribution.
his career.
It jump started his career as. I mean, and it's kind of insane because like if you look at that,
insane.
be real with me. And I know that this sounds like a diss, but like I feel like we like these movies for the most part, or
Yeah.
respect him as a director.
Yes.
If you saw this, would you be like? Yeah, you'd be like that jump starts a career. Like I see the.
No, if I saw it,
Do you
I'd
think-
probably enjoy it, like not knowing anything about it and watched it. I mean, I didn't know.
Or
anything
do you
about
think
it,
there's
really.
a level of it's somebody's job? You know, it's people's jobs to go to film festivals and watch stuff that's
Yeah.
rough around the edges and be like, I see potential with this person.
Yeah, somebody had to have been that guy.
Yeah, and
That-
and I just
yeah.
don't think with it, maybe we just don't have the eye for it. But when I watch this, I'm like, there's not. I don't really get why it started something.
Well, to be fair, it's not like his next movie was like it did have a much bigger budget, but it wasn't that famous either.
So
it's not like it was that big.
The other thing that I was keeping track of because I like love the Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
I feel like most people do.
Yeah, can we just say right now, Ben, you are a huge Lord of the Rings guy. You know all about the original trilogy of those
What do you
movies.
mean original trilogy?
The original trilogy, bro. Not the prequels.
yeah, dude.
You can say that. Hobbit's a prequel. Duh.
Oh, and what about the new ones though with John Boyega? He plays
Oh,
Gandalf.
good one, man. Oh god. Yeah, but
What's wrong with that?
he's not old.
You're right.
Anyway, so
That was
yeah,
a test and you
Ben
passed.
Ben really likes the Lord
Yeah,
of
I
the
like
Rings
the Lord of the
movies.
Rings movies. I think they're like pretty close to perfect.
Yeah. I'm somebody who has seen them, and I have trouble getting through them. They're not my thing, but I respect the heck out of them. But yeah,
But just so I wanted to preface, one thing I was looking for as I watched all these was obviously I'm like, where does a turn happen towards that being more his style? Can I pick out stylistic elements that I'm like, okay, that's kind of Lord of the Ringsy? You know, I was looking for some sort of continuity because I've watched those movies like, you know, so many times.
yeah.
And in Bad Taste, the answer is no.
Pretty much the only style you get is like first-person shots of people running through the woods.
Yeah, but also
lot of
the
quick
only
movements.
thing, and this isn't even his style necessarily until, and you know, I don't know how much it's just like location, but like big sweeping, like there's some beautiful locations.
Yeah,
Because
they're
just
on
like,
cliffs.
Yeah, they're on cliffs by the sea that are really good looking because it's New Zealand.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I took.
Nice. So scenery.
And like prosthetics, I guess.
Yeah.
Puffy face prosthetics.
Yeah. The alien creatures are so goofy looking, and when you see them in the movie, it's just worse.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of them, I think, in the end, and they do not move or look like real creatures. They simply look like people in costumes. So I don't know how much practical effects makeup work you can.
But like check
associate
check
that
this out though, right?
Like yeah, I
That's
see,
not-
He's showing me a Lord of the Rings screen
Yeah,
grab of
it's
some
the orc
elf,
from the
orc,
third.
Orc from the third.
From the third one, he's got like
Realm.
that puffy face. You guys know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, everybody
That
does.
that doesn't look unlike the prosthetics from Bad Taste.
It looks way better.
Well, yeah, because this budget had the number millions in it.
That is
There were millions associated
There
with
were
the
a lot
amounts
more
of money.
digits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, fine. I guess I get what you're
There
saying.
might have been. There were more million than there were thousand in this.
Yeah.
This is just like the stupidest comment. It's just like, yeah.
Yes, that is true. I don't know what else to say about this
It's
movie.
pretty short.
It's really short, and it's kind of funny. At
Kind of.
parts.
I mean, I'd say that there are surprising things that happen that read as comedic beats, but I don't laugh at.
I laughed when the guy shows up in the van with the cardboard cutouts of Sergeant Pepper's. Just because I was so taken back by that.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
That's fair.
Why
Lots
is that
of being
here?
taken aback.
Yeah.
Lots of like what?
This movie is definitely unique. I have not seen a movie that like has like this thin of a plot that goes to the extent it does.
And it's like I laughed at I don't know, like he wakes up in the bathtub with like vegetables and stuff, and he's got like,
in
an
the
apple in his
barrel.
mouth.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the dude's like, I bet you're wondering why you're being, why you're swimming in like unique herbs and spices. And I like laughed at that, but then I'm, so it, like, and it's funny in premise because the premise is that they do like fast food, right? Like it's alien fast food.
That's true.
Which I feel like is kind of a lot of these where it's like the premise is absurd. It's absurd that there's a premise that's goofy, and then that it on the ground level it translates to this degree of over the top violence and goop.
Yeah.
Like I think that that's the joke of at least this and Dead Alive.
Yeah, I feel that. I think what makes this movie work is like I hate to be like this, but like the violent parts, the parts with action.
I mean, if it weren't for that, it'd be nothing.
This movie would be so boring
because it has nothing else really going for it.
Like all the scenes of like them like meeting up to talk real quick are like pretty boring. No offense to Peter Jackson and his friends.
I don't think it would offend them because I don't think that's not what it's about.
Wait, can we talk about the end?
I think it's about being kind of a slightly shocking, like, goofy slasher flick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's not trying to be anything. It's not. It's
again
just pure
$11,000.
$11,000 of schlock nonsense, pretty much. Can we talk about the end?
But it has heart,
It does have heart. But the ending is the main alien takes off in a house. Like the house is a spaceship.
The house was a ship the whole time.
Yeah, literally the house just floats up into space. It's great. And
it's not like it doesn't like turn into a rocket ship because you couldn't do that.
It's literally like the cutout of the house rises on the screen up into space. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have to go now.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that Peter Jackson's character is still in the house, and he just goes off the rails, I guess.
Yeah.
Because then he decapitates the main alien guy, and then jumps down the alien's neck hole head first.
Yeah.
And then pops out through the bottom.
He's in the alien.
He's in the alien covered in blood, and then he like says something to the camera.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but I just remember being like, is this Looney Tunes? What's going on?
That's all, folks. That's it for now.
But like, right? Like, what was up with that?
Yeah, no, it reminded me of, and not just because of literally the anatomy, but in terms of the tone, it did remind me of, am I a butthead?
No, that's true. It had like that campy, not taking itself too seriously, not afraid to put like funny lines in there that don't really make much sense.
Well, I think that's all like the horror people from the time were the people like doing that, just being like, it's like I high key think that they were some of the most ahead of their time in terms of satire, in terms of being not afraid to use ridiculousness as a tool for entertainment in a non straight up comedy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because these movies all deal with like.
I mean, this one like
the least out of all of them. But yeah.
But you want to talk about a movie with a little more to
a little more meat, and by meat I mean
so
guts.
much. There's a lot of meat in this film.
There's guts everywhere. And Dead Alive, aka the American release is called Brain Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is, but I know that one's 14 minutes shorter than the New Zealand cut called Dead Alive.
What got cut?
Probably just a lot of gross stuff.
There's so much gross stuff. Like, every type of gross, too.
Yeah, it doesn't hold back.
Like, there's one character who's just gross. Like, that's his thing.
He's like a pervy gross
like
guy.
the pervy uncle with, like, the sideburns.
Yeah.
I think he's in stuff, too.
Probably.
He's, like, been...
Ian
I want to say
Watkin?
he's, like, a studio executive that, like...
He is in nothing that I've seen besides this movie. He's from New Zealand.
Well, are you on his IMDb right now?
Yes, I am.
And he's not in anything else?
He is in other stuff, but nothing I've seen.
What?
Oh, wait. I take everything back. He's the fair official in Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
Shut it down.
So that's where I know him from.
Yeah. But yeah. You want to talk
I remember
about this
that
movie?
fair official was really creepy. He brought a very upsetting energy to that role.
Yes.
Yeah, but let's just go from the start of Dead Alive.
This movie is about a monkey who bites an old woman.
The monkey is only
It's like a rat thing.
It's a rat monkey. Well, I read their Wikipedia page,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much we want to get into the origin story of this monkey because it is. Apparently, it's like like natives. Wait, let me look this up because I don't want to get this one wrong because it's problematic.
Well, in the movie, it starts out with like a guy running away from a bunch of natives with like a brown crate, and they're like, "No, don't take the monkey. It's the monkey of death or whatever."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah, and they're all warning him about what the monkey has and its curse or whatever. And it turns out its curse is just zombie stuff.
But like, I feel like worse than that.
Oh, way worse.
Like-
This movie takes the zombie genre and just mutilates it even further. It's disgusting. Because, like, the main character's mom gets bit. And the mom...
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
You got it. Sweet.
Yeah. In 1957, explorer Stuart McAlden, Bill Ralston, and his team smuggle a captured Sumatran rat monkey, a hybrid creature that resulted from the rape of tree monkeys by plague-carrying rats out of Skull Island.
Kong. Skull Island.
Well, you know, he actually wanted to... Before Lord of the Rings, he was working with Universal on a
King Kong. Yeah, I know King Kong was his dream project. Yeah.
So,
Do you think that monkey thing is in that King Kong movie?
highly unlikely.
I don't know. What if it's, like, in the background
Isn't that
somewhere?
who Jack Black plays? He's like, the rat monkey.
Bites an old woman. But yeah.
So it's a dude who like lives with his mom, who's like
Yeah.
annoying and overprotective.
Yeah, and then she gets bit by a monkey while they're at the zoo.
While they're at the zoo, he's on a date with
Some girl.
like a woman who believes that they're like fated to be together.
Oh, right.
And I don't really know why that was.
I don't like that stuff, but yeah.
But I feel like every movie has a moment. Every movie that like pushes it has a moment where you're like, oh, so we're pushing it, or like,
Yeah.
so we're doing something weird. And there were a few in this movie, but the first one that I felt the need to really write is it happens a decent way through. There's a sex scene. It's like not. They don't really show like anything. It's just like a very implied sex scene where it's like two people, making out under like soft candlelight in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's intercutting between them doing that and the grandmother writhing in pain with her or the mother writhing in pain with her like infected wound.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
is disgusting.
As the action, it's so gross. As the action of the romance heightens, it reaches a climax, as it were, and her infected wound like squirts goop onto like a picture of the guy as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was watching that and I'm just like, oh my god, like this is so distasteful.
Yeah, I feel like this movie should have been called Bad Taste.
Yeah.
But
I think the first three movies are all in some way
in bad taste.
In bad taste, yeah.
I think that's kind of the point.
But
there.
I was just like, my jaw was on the floor at that when her wound goop squirts onto the dude's
God.
face at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's so like this. So it's like the woman gets bit by a monkey, and then she slowly becomes a zombie. And this is one of the things that kind of bothered me was that everybody else who got bit after that
Just was instant.
immediately a zombie. But yeah, she like slowly turns into a zombie. But then it's like
God, this movie was so distasteful.
once she's
Sorry.
a zombie, she like the zombie even further just gets more and more mutilated,
Just grosser.
and wrinklier and puffier,
And, like,
somehow.
grosser things
more like darker goops start pouring out, not just blood, like bright green goops, white goop. It's all this.
I'd say for the first like 2/3 of the movie, I was like getting progressively like grossed out by stuff, and then for the last third, I was just numb to it. Like it didn't.
Were you
matter
not a
anymore.
fan of the lawnmower scene?
I thought it was good, but I just like it didn't affect me. Like
It didn't have that impact.
But the grossest scene is the night after she's bitten. They have the meeting of like the New Zealand like
and they're at the table?
the women's like co-op or whatever is meeting. And they're at the table, and there's like the old man who's like, "We need a new war."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Pass me some of the custard." And he's like eating the custard, and it's like really gross Foley work where it's just like, yeah, it's like so overdone.
Yeah.
And like her blood is like falling into the custard, and he's eating it, and it's like close-ups of his lips.
And he's
then,
like,
and he's like, rich and creamy. And then like her ear falls into it. Like it's so like,
Yeah, a lot of body parts just sort. It's like The Fly, how like body parts just fall off.
And there's like a scene where just like a dog pees on someone's foot for no reason, and like
right.
all this stuff where it's just like, why?
So much gross.
And then the
humor.
gross uncle who's just like,
The gross uncle who almost like rapes somebody.
yeah.
And then like he becomes a zombie. And there was one scene where I was like, oh wow, this is sort of like the 80s body horror thing. There's like a scene where like his torso is sort of just on the ground, and then his spine is sticking out of like his hunched over torso, and he's just at the top of his spine like wiggling and
Yeah, that's
smiling.
very, yeah.
Yeah, it was like very
totally.
Cronenberg. Yeah, that was, you get it.
But yeah, so he basically, the main character, our beleaguered main character, basically is trying to cover up that.
Yeah, it's a very contained zombie movie, which is something I appreciated. I mean, it's probably a budget thing.
He's trying to basically live a normal life still, and his zombie grandmother is like locked up in the basement.
And she progressively gets more and more people to be zombies throughout.
Yeah.
And then he has like a room with like 3 zombies tied up, and they're all like throwing up.
And then one of them's a priest, and they like there's a scene where like the priest zombie and the old woman zombie are having sex.
Oh my! Wait, can we talk about? So like they have sex, and then there's like a baby that gets birthed.
Yeah, this
moments
movie's
later.
insane. Sorry,
I
I
mean,
actually am
moments
forgetting
later.
about how gratuitously like.
It's
so
like
much
instantly
of this movie is.
they're pregnant, and instantly a full-grown baby comes out.
And he like throws it against the wall, like it's so
and
it's so
baby's
over the
like,
top, like
and it's like a little demon thing.
over the top distasteful. I think is like the
And I
right-
think that's what he's
intentionally so.
going
Yeah,
for, yeah.
absolutely. It's not like, wow, dude, you have no like compass. Like
Yeah.
you're so not self-aware. It's
Yeah,
like,
no.
he
There was a
gets it,
focus.
It's just also that doesn't mean that it's pleasant.
Yeah, that's true.
So like the uncle is like, the sexy Latin number that you're with, like, oh, I'd love to get a piece of that, and like is just like drooling, just like gross, dude. We get a shot from like a toilet bowl of him like peeing,
Oh my god, yeah.
because it's just stuff like that where it's like, do you get it? He's he's gross.
Yeah. I think this movie does creative things with each kill. Like every single kill is different, I believe, except for when he's just mowing people down with the lawnmower.
Yeah.
Granted, that's like a group of people, and I think that's still unique in its own way. But like the first guy, or maybe not the first guy. Or no, this is all like in the party scene. Just like 3 deaths happen like in succession, like one after
This
another.
is when the uncle invites everyone over to his
Yes,
house.
this is when the uncle invites everybody, and it's first off an entire like one guy's entire rib cage just gets ripped out of his body like it's nothing, and it's just like completely detached from him. The second is like some dude gets pulled on his hair, and then all of the skin on his face just gets ripped off, and then the next second, a heart is just ripped out of a body, and it's like all within like 20 seconds.
It's so much.
It's so much in so little amount of time, and I don't know. I like when it first happened, I had to like pause it and just sort of like rewind it to watch those again.
So the scene that really made me think of Shaun of the Dead, that made me think, I expect that Shaun of the Dead drew on this, if not his work as a whole, heavily. One, I know that he's in Hot Fuzz, right? So I assume they have at least
Some sort of connection there.
relationship with Edgar Wright. There's the scene when his mom is first messed up in the house, and he is like fighting his mom. Meanwhile, the girl is upstairs being like, "What's going on down there? Like, which toothbrush should I pack?"
Yeah.
Well, he's fighting his mom, and they're listening to something on the radio, like a radio drama. And the action being described in the radio drama is sort of a joking mirror of the action taking place in the fight.
Yep.
So it's like, "I'll be right down, mother." And then like it's 2 people talking, and it's like, "Would you like some tea?" And then he like smashes her with a teapot. So I'm like, that's super Shaun of the Dead, right? Is they have the TV going on in the background that's describing the action in like
or like the Queen song, "Don't Stop," and they're all hitting it.
It's all of those where it's like
Meta.
yeah, the meta stuff
On the
through
nose.
a TV or whatever, recontextualizing something. So I'm like, that's straight up what that is.
Yeah, no, I hear that. This movie has like clever moments like that. I feel more than the other ones. If
There's
we're being
also, I feel like we haven't talked about one of the most extraordinary sequences of the film. It takes place in a graveyard. It involves a priest saying, "I kick ass for the Lord."
Oh yeah,
And then kung fuing zombies
Yep.
for some time.
yes.
and like owning them too.
Yeah.
Like not
like
just,
one after the
like,
other.
as if he was Bruce Lee in a Bruce Lee movie where
Exactly.
he's like finessing fighting multiple zombies, like smacking their heads together.
yeah.
He kicks one so hard into a tombstone that the tombstone breaks in half.
Yep.
But it's also like clearly made out of like styrofoam.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think
Like
this
that
movie's-
rocks.
Yeah, it's full. I think this movie, out of the ones we watched, is the most amount of fun. It's the most amount of enjoyment you can get. I feel. That's
Okay.
just me. Just because like of that kind of stuff, just like the humor in it is kind of nonstop. It does get a little too ridiculous at the end for me. There's like a flesh monster that starts to get pieced together, and at
Yeah.
first I was like, oh, I'm down for this.
Yeah.
It's straight up just flesh. But then it just sort of morphs into like this giant bird thing that's like triple their size and is just like, it looks very much like a puppet.
I think the best, weirdest, most envelope-pushing scene maybe was when the uncle is visiting the house because he's
Yep.
he wants the house
before it all goes down.
and he's like, I'm just gonna go check out the dining room. And our main character's like, no, don't go in there. And he like blocks the door, and he's like, what? Like, what don't you want me to see?
Yeah.
And then we start hearing the sounds of people having sex in
Yep.
the next room, and we know that they're like zombies
Yep.
having sex. And he's like, no, you can't go in there. He's
Yeah.
like, why? Like, are you watching some like some? He calls it some weird
Yeah.
New Zealand thing. And he's like, oh, like, did you find your dad's home videos?
Yeah.
So he thinks that our main dude is watching a video of
his
his mother
parents.
and father, and the sounds are getting like more and more
Loud.
extreme.
Yeah, they're getting louder. And,
And the when in actuality they're reanimated corpses. But he's like, no, that's what that is. You got it. That's my parents' videos.
Yep.
And the uncle's like, all right, I see you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
he's
right?
like weirdly cool with it. He's like, all right, then, I won't tell anyone. And I'm like, ugh, this is so gross. But yeah, so like that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't know. I think that the baby in this movie is really funny.
Okay.
Just because. So there's like a couple shots where it's like clearly a puppet baby, and then clearly like a person in a baby suit. Like there's this one jump cut where they do like, maybe it's not a jump cut. Whoops. But there's like, it shows the baby and it starts to run in a backyard, and then it cuts to like a shot of in back of the baby running in the backyard, and then it's like a way taller model of the doll because it's a person in the suit. And I don't know, that made me crack up. Also, there's the scene where the baby sticks its hands through the back of somebody's head and then rips it like directly in half.
Yeah,
and jumps out and
that's
is
the
like,
cover,
"Ah."
right?
Is that the cover?
It's one of the posters.
It's one of the posters
Somebody
for the movie
with their
face
pulled
being
apart.
ripped in half down the middle.
It's so much.
It's so much, and like obviously, like it's not at all like physically plausible. Like
no,
like, there's so much, like-
it's like it's cartoon violence played out with real,
live action.
with flesh and blood human beings.
Also, I found there's one zombie who gets decapitated, and then somebody sticks like a little garden gnome in the neck, and then the whole time there's just a zombie walking around. Its face is just a garden gnome. And then there's one scene where it gets really gross because then they rip that out, and then just a bunch of liquid comes out of the body, like it's like nothing. It's so gross.
That's another thing. I think there are some funny kills throughout Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
like some funny orc kills.
you couldn't tell me. I don't remember.
And I'm trying to remember specific ones, but like I know that they definitely exist. There are some ones where it's like that is like played for laughs, and I'm trying to remember any specifics, and I can't.
Nice.
But I know it happens.
Yeah, I bet. I remember watching Lord of the Rings and never laughing because there was nothing funny in them.
There's this scene in this one isn't played for laughs, but in the first one, Aragorn's fighting the Uruk-hai at the end. He chops off like one of his arms, maybe both of his arms. I don't remember.
Sure.
And then stabs through him with the sword, and then the Uruk-hai like runs up the sword at him, which is like that's like a horror movie type move.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like they got stabbed and then they go.
He like
further.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I'm like that's like a slasher move.
Okay.
Um,
I remember laughing. Actually, Sean Bean dies in that movie, and they're like,
You were like,
and they're like, don't remove those arrows, and he's like, no, I want to die quicker, and he starts. That was funny.
that's not. It doesn't happen.
Come on, man, that's so good. That Sean Bean always dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember from that first movie. I'm
It's
not gonna
great.
lie.
Good scene.
I bet.
Um,
Was that the one where Peter Jackson had a cameo?
Peter Jackson has a cameo in all of them.
I hate how we have these competitions as to who can be quiet for the longest.
Yeah. No, that's agonizing. Nobody else likes that. I was looking for like what is in Lord of the Rings that's in this, and again, I was drawing blanks. I think that though there is a physicality to his horror that comes through in the orcs in Lord of the Rings, but mostly in Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
What do you mean?
The character design for Gollum.
Yeah.
Many of the more disturbing sequences with Gollum, such as close up on his mouth while he like eats a fish.
That's in the second movie. I remember that.
Yeah, right. Stuff like that.
That's good stuff.
Any of the shots of the transformation between
That's true.
Smeagol and
Yeah.
Gollum in the third one, including his fight where he tries to strangle his brother in the boat.
Yeah, I remember
Like
that.
that's
scene,
very
actually.
like that's
That was the
something
most
that would be
effective scene in that movie.
and that would be in one of these, right?
That's true.
That's not far. So the kind of more disturbing renderings, and there's even a scene in the first Lord of the Rings where you don't see it except for his hands, but Gollum is being tortured to divulge, what he knows about the ring, and it's very like almost Sam Raimi sort of like. He's got his fingers all up and they're all twisted, and somebody's got like a hot poker, and like it just, it looks like hell.
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was watching Bad Taste in particular, but also Frighteners, there's
You're like
a,
Sam Raimi.
I was like, there are a lot of like as in Evil Dead. There's like the shots of like the wind moving in the woods, going quickly past tree to tree, and there's a lot of that in Bad Taste, and then some of that in Frighteners.
Well, Sam Raimi, we were talking about the transition to getting people for movies with more digital stuff.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, before Spider-Man, he didn't have anything that really screamed Spider-Man,
Yeah, no, I think he made like horror movies and then like some dramas.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that's because during that transitional period, 80s to like 2003, you would be getting a lot of people from the horror world because you're like, these people know how to do funky looking things
for low budgets.
Yeah,
that was probably it too. It's
Totally.
like, also, part of me thinks it's like a studio being like, well, this is an indie filmmaker who will definitely do this, and we can probably push him around a bit.
I mean, probably.
Yeah, that has to be there to some extent. That's what Marvel does, I think. Yeah. Oops, off track.
I'm just trying to think of Marvel directors who are like indie. I mean,
like Taika Waititi first, James Gunn first,
James Gunn,
Joss Whedon,
Jon Favreau.
Jon
indie.
Favreau was bigger before Iron Man.
Like what?
He was in Swingers. He's directed a bunch of movies. He directed
a lot of. He was in and directed some TV too.
Yeah, he was around for a while before.
Joss Whedon is not indie at the time of.
Was he not? I didn't know who he was.
He had a whole show.
He had Firefly.
He had
but
a
canceled
show.
show.
He had Serenity
Also,
was a full length film.
That's true. Also, he had Buffy.
He had Buffy, which was wildly successful.
Fine. I get it. I'm wrong.
It's fine.
But also, like, you
apologize.
look at the direct.
Apologize, Dan.
Apologize to Joss.
Apologize to me.
But no, yeah, the director of Spider-Man: Homecoming. He did like short films before he did that.
Who directed Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Yeah, give me the name right now.
I don't know.
Exactly. And the guy who directed Ant-Man, all he directed was like Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Like that guy, he did comedies. Like they take like people who do low budget movies.
Gareth Edwards.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards with the Star Wars movie.
Wait, no, he did
Godzilla.
But the other one. I mean, Ryan Johnson.
Josh Trank.
Ryan Johnson did mostly indie stuff.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson was an indie director.
I mean, even
Looper
was, but that was not a blockbuster.
It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was a big movie.
Okay, let's talk about Peter Jackson. We're just talking about directors.
Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody?
People who have directed large movies.
These are independent directors who have moved. Oh, we lost a viewer. Oh God. That's because we just went off track.
Oh, I got
Sorry,
freaked
Peter
out because I
Jackson
looked at the
fan.
time and I thought it was 5, but this says 5 a.m. So.
Oh, that's why you were saying the time wrong earlier. I was wondering why you said that.
Oh.
You were like, "Yeah, dude, it's 4:15." I was like, "Then our show should be on." Sorry, everybody. You want to just get into Meet the Feebles, unless you have some.
I have
more.
very little to say about this one, weirdly, just because I was so tired.
Okay,
when I
that's
was-
fair.
Look, you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been living in like a weird nightmare world for the last like 2 weeks, but also years.
Yeah.
And it's just it's been a little chaotic lately.
Yeah. So yeah, forgive us if we fall asleep during the movies we're supposed to be talking to all you good people about.
Forgive us if we waste your time.
Hey, but we're not making you. We're just asking you to.
Please.
Okay, so Meet the Feebles is a movie that I only started hearing about up until last summer.
I'd never heard of it.
I only heard about it because of Happy Time Murders, which is a new movie, the puppet movie with Melissa McCarthy, where the puppets do drugs, have sex, and say curse words.
I saw a post on Facebook of like, you know, from like one of my normiest friends, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like why hasn't there been a remake of Hocus Pocus? Because for some reason people care about Hocus Pocus.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like, why hasn't there
Is
been
that
a
the
remake?
witch movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just because, you know, nostalgia
Yeah.
is the drug of the 21st century.
Yeah,
but like, they're like, why hasn't there been a remake with Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, and Maya Rudolph?
I can see it now. Like,
And I'm like, if that post were cynical, like, why hasn't this existed yet? Because,
Yeah.
of course, then I'd be like, dude, sick post.
Yeah.
But because of who posted it, I'm like, I don't want that.
come on, guy.
I don't.
You're being genuine here. But yeah, no. Meet the Feebles is a adult-oriented puppet movie. It's about the sleazy side of Hollywood, essentially. But they're all like goofy puppets. Like one's a hippo, one's a rabbit,
One's a frog.
one's a frog. Yeah, stuff like that.
In a subtle homage to one of the most recognizable puppets of our time.
Oh, right. There's the Jesus.
Kermit the Frog.
The Jesus is Kermit, right?
Yeah.
Or it's basically
Yes.
Kermit. Yeah.
No, I'm just like
I saw that and I was like, oh
a
wow.
puppet frog.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie.
They're in Vietnam.
I hated that.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so let's
You
just.
didn't like the extensive use of racial slurs.
We'll get into that. This movie, was it trying to
This
be
guy
funny?
directed Lord of the Rings. It's so
Okay,
weird to
so
me.
it's like it's hard to start with this movie just because it's so all over the place. Let me just go to my notes.
Yeah.
This is strange,
And
but
again,
also kind of dumb.
After this point, it should be noted, after Bad Taste, every movie has been worked on with him and his partner, Fran Walsh.
Yes, him and his wife.
partner.
Partner.
They're not
My apology-
married. Have 2 kids, not married.
My-
They're cool though.
My apologies.
It's fine.
To Jackson and Welch
And Joss Whedon.
and Joss Whedon and you, Ben. But yeah,
And me, an equally talented person as those other people.
yeah. This movie had a significantly lower budget than Dead Alive. Actually, this had sub 1 million again. It was at 750,000. It's about puppets in Hollywood trying to put on a Meet the Feebles musical number. Essentially, I fast forwarded every musical number.
I was baffled by
Not gonna lie.
the choice to do a puppet movie, but it kind of made a little more sense when I thought of, Dead Alive in a lot of ways becomes a puppet movie.
Yeah,
You know
there's
what I
a lot
mean?
of
It's
puppet work.
about the cartoonish manipulation of bodies and forms.
Yes, and this just takes that, but to an
Yo,
even
here's a
further
funny
degree.
kill in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
The scene where this is an absolutely Peter Jackson scene is the orcs have Merry and Pippin.
Is that the 2 guys, one of which is in X-Men Origins Wolverine? If you don't say yes, I'm
Yeah,
going to assume
yeah.
so. They're the stoner ones.
Maybe, I don't know.
They smoke pipes and giggle.
Yeah, well, that's hobbits, but yeah, it's them.
Oh, no.
And they're, the one orc wants to eat them, but the other orc is like, we can't. And then they start fighting each other, and the guy's like, but we haven't eaten any meat in days. And then they tear the dude apart comically because they're like, we're going to eat you. And you just see
Limbs
viscera flying up above the crowd of people tearing, and that's a comedy horror thing. And the guy shouts, "Meat's back on the menu, boys," which is kind of a funny line, but
Yeah.
also weird because why does a menu exist in your world? And that's a very modern concept, is a menu. And then even if there was menus, why would the orcs know what a menu is? And I've thought about that a lot.
We didn't even watch this movie this week, and you already have that many questions just based on your memory.
I talk about that one a lot. I talk about the menu bothers me almost as much as the Admiral jacket in Ghostbusters. The oral sex scene in Ghostbusters.
Oh God, yeah. We could do a whole episode on that later.
I feel like we already did.
Yeah, we already did. That was the
What if we did an episode of baffling scenes in movies that we can't get out of our just stuff where you're like, that scene was why was that there?
We would just do Gremlins as a whole then.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyway, this movie, there's moments where in Meet the Feebles, we're back to that. Moments
Ben Stiller,
where I'm like,
Robert De Niro.
You know it. I'm like, is it trying to be serious? Because there's like, no, hear me out. There's like a scene very early on where there's like a rat, and he's very much a rat. He's like the skeevy guy, and he sells drugs, shoots snuff films.
Yeah.
You know, is like part of the Hollywood mafia.
Harvey Weinstein, yeah.
No, Harvey Weinstein is the walrus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway, and like there's this guy trying to buy drugs off of the rat, and he's like, here's all the money I have, just please give me the drugs. And the rat's like, I'll get the drugs later. And then he takes the money and he goes, that's for last time. And then the drug addict's like, oh God, please no, just give it back, it's all I have. And then like nothing funny happens, it's just that, and I'm like, oh, is this just supposed to be like sad at parts?
Well, I think
then there's also a rape scene.
I think that
What?
It's if it weren't for authenticity or reality being dropped into something occasionally, it would not be satire. It would just be comedy. Right?
Yeah.
It is made satire by contrasting those elements.
Yeah, but
and I think if they didn't have anything, and of course it's not real because it's a drug addict puppet talking to a drug dealer puppet.
Talking to a drug dealer rat puppet.
Yeah, so like it's not serious, but then so that disconnect is, I mean, that is satire. Like I think when we talk about satire, we don't talk about the the definition of it being the juxtaposition of levity and
like that's true, but at that point in the movie, the novelty of them being puppets doing adult things is kind of worn off, and that was just like sad. And I was like, are they trying to say something or something? I honestly didn't know, because then there's like a rape scene, and then after that there's actually a part in the movie where I somewhat got emotional. It involved my favorite character in the movie named Wobbit, which is like a little hedgehog guy who all of his R's are W's, you know.
Yeah.
Very soft-spoken boy. And then he's like to the girl who got raped, he's like, you're loose. I don't want to be with you no more. And then she's like, no. And it's like, and I was like, oh, no, that's true. That's like what happens.
Yeah, no, and
it wasn't funny. It was just really sad.
That's satire, though. Sometimes satire just comes out of nowhere and hits you with something where you're like, that's not a joke. That's like a very harsh thing.
But I think satire is trying to be funny. Satire is somewhat joking. This scene did not seem at all like a joke.
The joke is that they're puppets.
I hate that. No, that already wore off.
No, it didn't though. I disagree.
That can't just be...
I actually take a stand for this, where I think sometimes just like an observation that's so harsh and I mean they're comedians, that this is part of their shtick. Like is just they say stuff and you're like, I don't know, that's not even a joke, man.
Yeah.
Like that's just a very, very. Probably you would not hear a lot observation in the level of how far it takes it. Mm-hmm. There's the thing that always comes to mind for me is there's a Gerard Carmichael bit where he's like, well, it's in the same set where he's like, I don't care about climate change.
Okay.
He's like, I just don't. I know I should, but I don't care.
Okay.
And it's the same set. He also says like, so your best case scenario. He's like, in all likelihood, your grandfather beat your grandmother. Like, right? Probably. Like, best case scenario, he was emotionally distant. Like, and I'm just like, that's not a joke. No, but I think it's, I think it's and he's the one who had the joke about, like, Woody Allen and Michael Jackson.
I don't think I've heard that one. I don't know if I want to hear that one.
It's very funny, but
I'd
it's just
imagine.
like it's like it's just something that takes the wind out of you, and I think that is a job satire does that we don't talk about that much, because when most people think satire, they think The Onion, or
Yeah.
but even The Onion
Even The
occasionally
Onion.
has stuff where you're like, that bums me out.
Yeah.
My favorite Onion headline, maybe of all time, is God hears disabled child's prayers to walk again. No, says God.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not a joke. That's
Yeah.
just like,
It's just how.
oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing. It doesn't work in this movie.
Okay, I mean, I think I'm just defending where it's coming from.
I get what you're saying, but for me, for this guy, I didn't like it.
Sure.
I thought that the fact that they were puppets was never funny to me. Like them saying a curse word or them doing drugs was never funny. Like there's a scene where there's one like mainlining heroin or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like not funny, but I get that it's a puppet. It's supposed to be funny for that reason. And like I have in my notes, puppet doing drugs, haha. Puppet having sex, haha. And then TBH, this movie is boring.
I think, not the boring part, obviously, because no one
Also-
wants that. I think you're struggling with whether things are funny or not.
Is that like,
Is
me?
intentional? I think you're where
That's
you're
what I'm
supposed
saying.
to be.
That's what I was saying earlier. Where I'm like, is some of this supposed to be serious that you're not supposed to laugh at, or you're supposed to question it? I didn't know. But then there's also scenes with like, the hippo's a hippo, so she eats a lot, and she's fat, so she stress eats a lot. Ha ha. And then there's the scene with like Gandhi puppet that's pretty racist, and
Yeah.
and I'm like,
What about
alright.
the North Vietnamese puppets?
Dude, okay, let's talk about the Vietnam sequence. Too long.
I thought it was funny. Not the sequence. I thought that it was the idea of like, oh, they're
Puppet
like
Vietnam?
Puppet Vietnam.
Like the idea that I was like, oh, that's kind of amusing. But when I actually saw it, I was like,
Because
that's
that's
not
like
funny.
the lowest, like the grimiest human experience is like, the Vietnam
Yeah.
War, just human misery.
Yeah, and then that's puppets.
I was like, that idea, I'd be like, I would watch a sketch that is Puppet Vietnam, and I'd hope it was good because the idea has legs.
Okay.
It didn't, I wasn't like digging it though.
Yeah, I said I have a note about this, and I'm like, the scene it feels like it's trying to be funny with the reenactment, but it's not landing with me at least. But there was one part that did get me, and that's when somebody had a sign that just said, "Lyndon Johnson is very bad egg." Is very bad egg. That was so good. And yeah, I guess what made me laugh somewhat throughout this movie was Robert and just his pronunciation of words.
Sure. But you
not
thought
even-
that the puppet thing fell a little flat. You're like, I get it, but I like this guy.
But
with the
Wobbit?
yeah, this guy who has
He's so cute.
poorly defined R's. That is
The
a
speech
gold
impediment,
mine.
dude. Also, there's the scene where the hippo tries to hang herself, and she's too fat, and she breaks the ceiling. That wasn't funny. I was like, come on, guys. That was just bad. Did you laugh at that?
I think
Okay.
it might be a level of post hyper vulgarity where they're like, what if that were the joke?
Post-hyper-vulgarity.
Right?
Okay.
What if the joke were that she tries to hang herself but she's too fat, and how stupid that joke is?
That doesn't make that doesn't make anything better for me. That doesn't.
You can't then, and this is like I just don't know what level of satire they're on.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I guess is kind of what you're trying to suss out too. I mean, I definitely like this movie. Probably the least of any of these.
Yeah.
I'd
I'd say this is my least favorite.
I think Bad Taste I didn't really love watching because I just thought it was boring.
I'd probably put Bad Taste second.
Weird.
Whoops.
I just it reminded me of the Garth Marenghi's Dark Place chase scene.
I was watching some of that this week because I was like, I gotta revisit some of that.
Yeah,
That show's
the
hilarious.
chase scene where they're pedaling bikes,
Yeah.
but it's just sped up
It's
to
just
make
a
it look
green
like
screen.
motorcycles.
Yeah.
You know me, Rick. I'm too busy just staying alive. Yeah, but totally.
Yeah, one thing that this movie has that Garth Marenghi doesn't is headspace.
What do you?
Like, there's a lot of headspace in
yeah.
Garth Marenghi.
Yeah.
You know, every shot is like,
Yeah.
there's like a foot above their head. I love that.
Should we do a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place episode, or is that too like we'd just be talking about something good that it's like
I think we'd just be talking about
everybody?
something good.
Yeah,
Not many
But I
people
mean,
know
we-
about it, but everybody who listens to our show probably knows what it is.
body horror, like that was just us talking about good movies.
That's true, but it was a specific genre.
Yeah, and I
And
guess
feel like most people haven't seen
we would just
Society.
write down a list of, especially with a comedy, it's weirder because you're just writing down a list of the things that are funny, and like everybody else would be like, "Yep, I noticed those.
That
those
was
are the
funny in the
things."
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I like discussing what we're planning, what we're gonna do for upcoming episodes during the show.
Yeah,
It
the
really
people
makes
love
for
it.
good and
You want to talk
entertainment.
about Fright Night?
I like Fright Night. I've seen that movie.
I thought it was
actually.
pretty good. I was surprised when I found out it was Peter Jackson.
Fright Night is the '70s vampire movie about.
Yeah, is that not?
Oh no, Ben! Did you watch the wrong movie?
Oh no!
Wrong movie alert.
We're in a lockdown.
Wait,
Ben has been disposed of. I'm the new Ben.
okay, so let's just jump to Frighteners. Easily the most famous out of all these movies. The only one I had heard about before.
Hadn't heard about it.
I think it was on Netflix.
I think
for a
I might have
while.
seen a scene of it when I was a kid, and it really scared me.
Oh, okay. I saw like the poster with the white face coming through the wall. I remember seeing that on Netflix a lot and never watching it. That's the only way I heard about it.
So, Lord of the Rings wise, and I'll get into more things, but the first thing is between the Frighteners and Dead Alive, and a little bit Bad Taste. We have like these nervous protagonists, like these sort of
Is Michael J. Fox nervous in this movie? He
Yeah.
seems cool, calm, and collected.
No, he's not. He's like a shyster,
What's a shyster?
like Better Call Saul,
Oh, okay.
like a
Okay.
non-legitimate
I get what you're saying.
person who's barely getting by.
Yeah, he was getting by kind of at other people's expense.
Yeah. And less so in Lord of the Rings, but like kind of like Martin Freeman, Hobbit,
Yeah.
right?
I
It's like a
see
little
it.
bit of the like nervousness, a little bit
Okay.
of
I don't know. Michael J. Fox didn't seem like that nervous though. He wasn't. Never mind.
I think when he rolls up in his car, and I can't explain why, I got some Lord of the Rings vibes.
Are you talking about when he crashes onto the
Yeah.
dude's lawn
And
and,
I
is
can't-
just like has no remorse and
Yeah.
doesn't even like acknowledge it?
I can't explain why, but that was one of the first things that reminded me of Lord of the
That's
Rings.
one of the things where I was like, oh wow, this guy's cool, calm, and collected. Because
Is
he
the-
really didn't care
is
about
the interior of
damage
his
he did.
car being filled with his own business cards, and like I can't even explain why it reminded me. I don't know how.
It's because the director is the director of Lord of the Rings, and you knew that.
But I don't. I would not have ever thought that if I wasn't,
Yeah.
looking for it.
That's true.
But I don't know, just like texture, like objects in the world, like things having like weight, I guess.
Like the walking chicken.
yeah,
I liked the walking chicken. That's something I enjoy.
yeah, like objects having weight and purpose.
Yeah.
Texture.
Also, when I say walking chicken, I don't mean like a regular chicken walk. I mean like a skinned chicken that's like ready to cook.
And you don't mean the bird at the end of.
No, and I don't mean the bird
Dead
at the end of
Alive.
Dead Alive. Yeah, no.
I have a lot of notes about this
the,
one.
The plot of the movie is paranormal guy who has two ghost buddies is trying to track down this one ghost thing that's just killing people.
he's a paranormal investigator
sort of
who
more
also,
like paranormal
Con man.
yeah, con man.
which is a clever.
Swindler.
It's like
I liked the plot.
It's very much Ghostbusters in a way, but Ghostbusters.
They're against the ghosts. Whoa.
But you know the scene early on in Ghostbusters when Bill Murray is testing the psychic powers of the woman, and he's got the cards, and he's like, "What's on the card right now? Like, I want you to picture in
Yeah.
your mind." And you see it's like a diamond, and she's like, "Is it a circle?" And he's like, "Wow, it is a circle. Like, you really have the gift."
Uh-huh.
Like, to like sleep with this girl or whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of has that vibe where he's just conning them with his know-how, being like, "Oh, we need," but really he's friends with the ghosts.
Yeah, I
So he
liked
has
that.
the ghosts go around and
Cause mischief so
knock
he
over
can solve
stuff so that he can be like, "Oh no, what you got here? You got a ghost infection."
And I got this little machine that
Yeah.
prints out a ticket, and
Yeah.
that's them. That's the ghosts.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever. Also, I thought it was clever how they didn't tell us that until after he leaves that house and the ghosts show up and they're
Yes.
like, "That was
I
such
liked
a
the
good job."
physicality of his ghost tools.
Yeah.
I thought it felt very like Ghostbusters-y or something. Like it's just like a box that he like
Yeah,
puts
yeah,
down
yeah.
on the table.
But here's my thing. Don't really like the ghosts in the movie. His two ghost friends kind of bothered me.
So
Oh boy.
my first note was wall monster rules.
No.
What?
Nope.
You didn't think that was cool?
I thought it was cool. I didn't think it ruled though because it looked horrible.
I thought my next note, a few down, this movie actually looks pretty good.
Oh no, buddy. Okay.
I think it does look good, and there are actually some beautiful scenic shots of.
There's good shots.
I don't know if it's shot in New Zealand. I'm assuming, although
I don't
this is the
think it
first one
is.
that's not New Zealand actors.
Yeah, this one's got Michael. Well, after the other one, we're not talking about creatures, heavenly creatures. That one's not New Zealand because that one's got American actors.
Wasn't that one later than this?
Nope.
Oh,
That was right before this.
my bad.
No,
And so
this was
was
the last
meet
movie.
meet the
Meet the Feebles.
We're the Millers.
Yeah, we're the Feebles.
Jason Sudeikis plays a drug addicted rat.
All right. That's too possible for that to be like a joke.
Do you think was Jason Sudeikis in the Happy Time Murders? Without looking, what do you bet? Because I'd say it's coin flip.
I'm gonna say no because I don't think he was, but I wouldn't. If I didn't know that he wasn't, I would be like, yeah, maybe.
And was he in Game Night?
I don't think so. That was Jason Bateman.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Close enough.
And were they in Horrible Bosses?
They were in Horrible Bosses. Whoa.
Checkmate. It's like,
There's a
what?
sixth degree. Everybody's related.
You connected a thing to a different thing.
Okay.
I like The
so
Frighteners. I think it was my favorite of the movies.
Frighteners was your favorite.
I think so.
Oof. I would say Frighteners is, besides Feebles, my least favorite.
I think Dead Alive was real close.
Dead
but
Alive
I
is
think,
number one for a mile.
But I think I liked a lot of things in Frighteners.
Frighteners felt kind of boring to me for a lot of it. It was very like I hate using this word, but it was generic in terms of like 90s horror movies where it's like I don't know, there's like a certain aesthetic, a certain vibe, the way the people talk, it just felt very standard.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think it
there's very few things
did
that
not
make
feel
it.
much like a horror movie.
It felt more like a thriller.
Yeah,
But-
or even just weird comedy.
Here's the thing you said before we watched this, like, or before we talked, you're like, oh, this is like a comedy. I'm like, there were like funny elements, I guess, but it wasn't.
There's like a black
funny.
exploitation ghost.
Yeah, I know, and he was entertaining, but like, I
think the premise
don't
again
really
is funny,
get
even if
what-
the action isn't funny. The premise that he has ghosts and uses them to trick people.
I like the premise a lot. I can't. I when I watch this movie, I've seen this movie twice in the past week. I couldn't get behind it. I fell asleep for the end of it the first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my favorite part of the movie is by like a country mile is Jeffrey Combs' character, the guy from Reanimator.
I was
from
thinking,
Beyond.
I'm like, is that Reanimator guy?
Yeah,
And yes,
it totally is. And as usual, he is hamming it up.
Yeah, he's like,
he is
well,
all over the place.
This is a very disturbing thing. He also is hates women or is awkward around women.
Yeah,
or, like that's a
well,
thing.
it's because he has like a repressed childhood where he's a sex slave for like 6 months.
Yeah,
and
which
such.
comes out of nowhere.
Comes out of nowhere. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and he just like kind of 180s into like a psycho killer, but he kind of was that the whole time,
Yeah.
I guess. But my
Dude,
favorite
Jeffrey
line by
Combs.
him that like was immediate. I'm like that's
gingerbread man.
yeah. This is one of those lines. He goes, "What about?" Because he's talking about like a guy because he's investigating him. And he's like, "What about the guy who was dead in the toilet? What did he do to you?"
Piss on you.
Piss on your hush puppies. That was the funniest thing.
Yeah. That's such a him line.
I'm like,
it's just
that's
weird,
straight out of those movies.
But you deliver it like your life depends on it. But like it, it's not necessarily even a good line reading. It's just a very line reading.
So good. I love that guy. He needs to be in more stuff because he just knows how to ham it up and
Michael
deliver
J.
the
Fox
cheesy
gets in a couple
lines.
car accidents in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
Point where he should get a bike.
Yeah, and like the whole thing is that before the movie, him and his wife, like he almost died in a car
Yes,
accident.
that's
and, like,
how
his wife
that's how
did
his
too.
near-death experience linked him to the paranormal world.
Also, it was like, oh, I almost died, so I can see ghosts now.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But I hate to do this, but this is a movie where dated CG, I think, kind of holds it back.
in terms of like the actual monster,
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty good.
Dude, okay, so first off,
I thought the ghosts looked not that good.
first off, the wall when they're coming out of the walls, that looked horrible. When the woman's running in the hallway and the monster comes up out of the floor carpet and like grabs her, it looks so bad. And I know we've seen this in Nightmare on Elm Street. You can have stuff coming out of the walls and have it be like looking real.
That's true. You know, he wanted to do a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
getting some.
I didn't know that.
I'm getting some weirdness in my headphones. Just some crackle, and I'm wondering if that's coming through the mics. Or
I
not.
think that's probably just your jack because I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, yeah, no, because every single monster effect in this movie is like CGI.
Yes.
And I think it probably looked okay at the time, but it's very dated now, and it made me really hard to get into it. And then like there's the guy in the cloak. The thing in the walls turns out to be like a cloak guy who they think is death up until the end.
Yes.
And it's like, couldn't you just get a guy in a cloak? Why did you have to make it a full CG character?
Well, I imagine they took that feedback to heart when they designed the Nazgul
Oh God.
in Lord of the Rings, who look and move very similar to this cloaked monster,
Yeah.
yet are tactile, right? They're people, like they
Okay.
walk around.
And do they look way better?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. This
Well,
thing-
also millions of. Well, I guess this had a budget of what?
This had a budget. I think this had the biggest out of all of them. Yeah, this one wasn't a budget of favors like Bad Taste. This one, $30 million, so 10 times more than he's ever worked with before.
At this point.
At this point,
Yeah.
And
But also CG just balloons the cost of.
I guess I don't think
Depends.
it like balloons it, but it definitely is.
We were
costs
talking about
money.
Rodriguez last week. So
Yeah, so yeah, to all you SoundCloud listeners who don't know who Robert Rodriguez is, but yeah,
we had to delete that episode because we had
too
some,
raw.
Yeah, exactly. We had some takes that were I don't know that America was ready for.
or just people in general.
People, yeah.
I also didn't like the soundtrack to this movie. Maybe that's just me,
Yeah,
who's sick
okay.
of Danny Elfman, but
Yeah,
like I don't like Danny Elfman works in some movies, and if we're being honest, I don't think it worked here.
Yo.
But that could just be me being like, oh, another Danny Elfman soundtrack.
He destroys it in Spider-Man 1, though.
Dude, he destroys it in Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's Hans Zimmer.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
You're lying to me.
I'm not.
All right,
I wish I
everybody.
were, because Hans Zimmer is such a basic
Hold on.
like name now.
Danny Elfman was the basic name.
He
Before
was,
Hans
yeah,
Zimmer
but
was.
Hans Zimmer is like bros who think Dark Knight is the best movie ever made.
Dude, the Inception soundtrack is probably the greatest soundtrack
Yo,
that's ever been
I actually,
made.
dude,
Wow.
those are some of my favorite movies. Inception, Dark Knight. I
Interstellar.
also, yeah, Interstellar is also really good. I like that new one, Dunkirk.
Wait, who did that? Oh, you're right. This was Hans Zimmer.
I don't know why. I just like those movies.
Oh, no. I was so wrong.
You ever seen Memento?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait.
He didn't... Hans Zimmer didn't do the soundtrack for Black Pearl. It's Klaus Badelt.
What?
I don't know. It's some guy we haven't heard of. Why did I think Danny Elfman did this?
Why
Probably
did
'cause he
I?
does
Why was I so
everything.
sure Hans Zimmer did it?
Why were you?
Because I
He
even
did,
now
he
I
did the
doubt you.
sequels.
Okay,
He didn't
well,
do the
that's
first,
fine,
though. He didn't do the original. Ba-da-dun-dun.
Um,
Da-da-dun-dun. 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 Yeah, so Danny Elfman doesn't fit here. I really wish they had just gotten somebody who knows more about horror movies to do the soundtrack because it literally feels like
Trent Reznor.
yeah, right. They should have
Well,
gotten
he
the
was in Nine Inch Nails
Yeah,
at the time.
They
It's
could have
just like,
done that.
Head like a hole. He like would feel really bad.
Yeah, and they got that song where it's like that old guy going, "I hurt myself."
Yeah, dude, that's my yeah, dude, that
Today.
old guy. That old I liked it, but I wish that guy weren't so old.
Yeah,
I was thinking about this earlier where I'm like, Trent Reznor, man. What an anomaly in terms of guy who's who's cool but gets away with being named Trent.
Yeah, right.
Like if he weren't
Yeah, if he weren't,
if he
who
were
he
any
is,
less cool,
Yeah.
he would be fully made fun of, but he just happens to be super cool. So it's like, oh, right, okay, you get one pass,
Word.
Trent.
Trent. Yeah.
Hope it was worth it.
Let me talk about how this movie, Frighteners, compared to the rest, feels way safer in terms
I agree.
of
Absolutely.
content.
Yeah.
It feels like this one was very much like Peter Jackson
'cause
working
there's
with a
no,
studio.
like Sumatran rape monkeys. Like because the
Okay.
other ones are insane, and we're like, oh, he's playing it safe. It's like, yeah, but he was insane.
Yeah, the premises are call for that sort of insaneness, but at the same time, this could do the same.
Also, what was this rated?
R.
Okay.
Like, yeah, no, there's a scene where Jeffrey Combs' head gets blown up, and then his ghost head is all that's left, and he's like, oh, and that was funny. I enjoyed that because that was like one
How about
scene.
the Western Ghost when they're in Night at the Museum? They're in the museum.
Wait, is this Night at the Museum or Frighteners?
No, Frighteners.
Okay,
they're just
cool.
at a museum at
During the night.
Yeah.
You okay there, buddy?
Yeah. Him like shooting the cloak ghost with like his pistols.
I hated that. I hated how much.
What
they
about when
shot
he
the
sexually
ghost.
assaults a mummy? A sarcophagus?
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, no, the Old West judge ghost sexually assaults a sarcophagus where he's like, "Oh, now like if you'll excuse me, Michael J. Fox, there's a purty lady I got to attend to," and he
Oh,
just
God.
jumps into the sarcophagus.
Oh, I remember this. Hold
and
on.
then
Yeah.
he says something after that pretty disturbing.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but this is coming back to me.
It was something that like he was like, oh, she wasn't moving, but like that was fine with me. It was something
Yeah,
where
or
you're
something
like, oh
like
my
that.
god, like.
Yikes.
But okay,
I hate
crazy theory.
what?
Look at the visually the ghosts.
Okay.
Look at visually, especially that Old West ghost with the jaw that's fallen off. Now look at the ghost army in
I
Lord of the
swear
Rings:
to
Return
God.
of the King.
Yeah. Okay. You got me. I don't remember who that is in Lord of the Rings because
Google
they're-
Lord of the Rings
They're
ghosts.
found in the cave.
Yeah,
right?
just
By-
look
by
at them visually.
My man Vigo.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah. No. I know who you're talking about.
they look.
They look the same because they're like bright blue, white. Oh,
They're not bright blue white.
they're gray.
They're green.
Oh, they're green.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Just look it up. It's right.
Why,
you have a computer.
Why do I have to?
Because then you'll be like, dude, you're so right. You're drawing such intelligent comparisons.
Whoa, dude, you really read between the lines. I'm looking at Lord of the Rings Ghost Army. Oh, wow. Yeah, that came up really quick. I wonder why. Ew. Oh, yeah, they look like Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought when I watched the movie as a child. I guess I see what you mean. They do look similar. They are ghosts. You got it.
That's 1 point.
There it is. I'm sorry, everybody, that I can't draw comparisons to Lord of the Rings this episode because I'm not as rehearsed in that field.
That's fine. It's called industry professionals, not
Industry amateurs?
yeah, amateur. Oh, sorry. I can't reach the mic because I'm too short to stand because I'm a baby, and that's why I'm too short. And also my hands are covered in cookies and jam because I'm just a little baby boy, and I'm in the industry though.
Yeah, boss.
It's not called that.
They call me the boss baby.
Have you been watching that show on Netflix? It's actually pretty good.
It's so bingeable, dude. I liked the reveal that Jeffrey Combs is a satanic worshiper. And there was this one shot where it got really close to his head when he was like talking about it. And he's like, and this and that. And I was really hoping that pineal gland would just pop right out of his head.
Rule.
That I was like, please let this happen. Just let it be. Let it come into fruition.
God, that movie was so good.
Yeah, From Beyond is the best movie we've talked about, I feel.
It's also insane though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every time I think about how good that movie is, I'm remembering it as more like as tighter than it was.
Yeah.
Because it's like there was so much weirdness.
Yeah, you can only remember so much.
Yeah,
Your brain
'cause
filters out.
Yeah, exactly. So do you want to hear some background on Peter Jackson that I thought was interesting or worth noting?
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Where's Peter Jackson from?
Manitoba, Canada. No, is that wrong?
Dude.
This is
Isn't he from New
It's a
Zealand?
flawless Canadian accent. Yeah, no, he's from New Zealand. I think Auckland. I might be wrong. I did
I
do
could look
research
it
on
up
it,
right
but
here.
I think Auckland, but that's one of the two places I know in New Zealand.
Jackson.
But I also know that that's where Lord of the Rings was filmed. So
Ooh, he was born in Pukerua Bay,
Well.
which is in Poriua.
dude, that's classic me. I'm always just like minimizing the cultural,
Yeah.
the like native culture of New Zealand.
Yeah, you just read those
Yeah.
one. Auckland.
I'm like Auckland, Queenstown, God Save the Queen, New York City.
What we do in the shadows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, dude.
Yes. No, but so he was in school. He then did his project, which was Bad Taste, which was just like he just wanted to do like a slasher movie. He was
Okay.
really into horror, obviously.
I wish he would go back to doing these kind of movies.
Do you think he can, or is he's because he's like all big.
big budget glossed over stuff? That's true.
He's like the movie where the cities move.
He's not directing that though.
Is he really not? I keep thinking
we've talked about this before.
he has rights for some stuff in the next few years.
Yeah, dude. He wants to do the sequel to Tintin.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot. He did. Did he direct Tintin?
he produced. I think.
Did Steven Spielberg direct Tintin?
I
know
you're
one
thinking
of them
You're
did
thinking
it.
of
No, I'm
Ready
not.
Player One.
Gosh darn it. Yeah.
This is the multiverse. We go into it because in the future we're sad. If you guys remember, you remember arcades. Here's the thing about Ready Player One is
Did you see that movie?
Yeah, I hate it, and it's I hate it, and I hate the book, and it's weird because it's like in the future, life is so miserable and untenable that we escape into virtual worlds when it in itself is like this 80s video game escapist
Yeah.
fantasy that it's like this is what it is, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. It's just like, oh, but all your favorites are here.
Yeah. It feels.
Doesn't it feel good? It feels like you're a
unaware.
child again.
Yeah.
Remember when you weren't worried?
Yeah. I feel that.
Don't
that-
you crave childhood or death?
Yeah, the movie
Like-
kind of tries to make a statement about itself,
Yeah.
but I think completely misses the point.
Yeah. So he did Bad Taste. He met his partner, Fran Walsh, who they have worked together on like every project. In fact, she's not talked about that much because he.
Oh
was,
yeah! Wow, would you look at that? Him and Fran Walsh are producing Mortal Engines.
Yeah, they're
interesting.
Everything.
Interesting.
And that the only reason they were gonna do like a dual director thing, but I think we discussed this last time. It's harder to get a dual directing credit with like Writers Guild and Directors Guild.
All these stupid
and also
rules.
they were like, I don't know what the impetus was, but apparently she said we thought that one of us should be like less of a public figure just because like
That's fair. That's
it'd
smart.
be weird because they like were having kids and stuff.
Yeah. You have to have at least one. Who's
So it'd
not.
be I imagine that'd be pretty weird. He like did all this stuff. They were working together. The time between Frighteners and Lord of the Rings, he was talking with Miramax about he wanted to do a Nightmare on Elm Street, but that ended up getting passed on. He
That's a
wanted to do
bummer.
King Kong for a long time, but there were 2 releases
That was his passion project.
around the same time that came out and were kind of too similar. It was Godzilla and something else.
Yeah.
And so they passed on it. So he wrote a speculative script based on Lord of the Rings after seeing the animated Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
and being like, why is nobody doing anything with this?
Yeah.
He wrote a speculative script for it in like 17 hours or something.
Really.
Well, yeah, he was on like a bus ride or a train ride, and he just like banged out
Lord of the
ton.
Rings.
I mean, not
I know,
entire,
I'm kidding.
it was super rough, and so much got changed and cut. He presented it to the Harvey Weinstein and those guys, and Harvey Weinstein said, "Bada boom, bada bing, we're in the money now. Things are looking good for old H-Man Weinstein. The future is bright for me. Things are going good.
Up, up,
it's
up,
me,
up.
up for Harvey Weinstein. The year is 2002."
And it'll be like that for another 15.
Forever, foreseeable future.
Yep.
Every day. Ooh, I love freedom. I love not being in jail. Don't know why
He's
I
not
would
in
be.
jail.
Yeah, no, he's not. And like apparently there's like stuff is stalling up the case too, which is so messed up. But he was like, so these Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of movies. What if you made it one movie?
One movie.
And like,
That would,
because it's like
that'd be horrible as one movie.
it'd be, and they were all like, no, like this is not workable, yada yada. He's like, okay, bada bing, bada boom, you get 2 movies. And they were still like, okay, not so
it's
sure
3
about that.
books.
Yeah, and then
Can't
they
make 2
were.
movies.
He basically had 2 weeks to decide on this deal, so he was just shopping around Hollywood, going from person to person. And again, like all of his background, like one, there was no reason to believe that it would be so big, but also
Yeah.
you need to ask for a lot of money because it's just a lot of extras and stuff.
Yeah, and like a lot of scenery, set pieces,
And a weird directing history. To them, like you would
For
think
such a
you'd go
gamble.
with like Spielberg, or,
James Cameron,
Ron Howard,
Zemeckis.
Robert.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Who
yeah.
produced Frighteners,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
also
yeah.
made it feel more studio. I feel.
Yeah, that's so true. Though.
It did feel like a Robert Zemeckis movie with the Danny Elfman soundtrack and all the gang.
Yeah, but like you probably would have. But so it's a weird pitch, and also, but I guess also like people just there was a renewed level of interest in Lord of the Rings in like the 70s, and then it kind of people they're long old books, like people didn't care that much, so it wasn't like now where we're mining every bit of our cultural past for what can be made into a movie.
Yeah.
So they eventually talked to New Line, and they're like, so why do you only have 2 movies? There are 3 books. Like, this is weird. And they're like, thank you. So then they made it with New Line and not Harvey Weinstein, which is cool.
That is good.
He wrote it along with his partner.
Fran.
Yes. And also another woman whose name I'm forgetting.
I could
find out
right now.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. Keep talking.
And just learning about writing, because like one, I didn't know it was written. It was like 2 out of the 3 screenwriters were women, because I think it often gets criticized for its female representation in those movies.
Philippa Boyens?
Yeah.
Okay.
It often gets criticized for
it does.
they exist only in relation to men, which
Most
is like
certainly.
not untrue.
Yeah.
But also apparently there was a lot of different stuff in the script writing process. Like they wanted to make it less like that, but it was kind of a lot of the character decisions ended up coming down to actors.
Dude, so Philippa is also like like Fran. Probably not his partner, but like writes everything with him.
All this stuff too.
All Lord of the Rings movies, King Kong, the Lord of the Rings video games, Lovely Bones, the Hobbit movies, and she wrote the script to Mortal Engines.
She wrote for the video games of Lord of the Rings. They got the screenwriter for Lord of the Rings to write.
It could just be like she's credited there.
But that's insane.
Yeah, no,
that's a nuts poll. Can you imagine?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
That'd be nuts.
Oh wait, hold on. This team of people, these 3, they're writing Mortal Engines.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought they were just producing.
No, they're
Oh
writing,
my God,
producing.
This is so deep.
Dude,
Dude, this movie's gonna be so bad.
Does that not make you a little curious to see it?
It makes me
I
more
do not
interested.
think it will be good.
I don't think it's
I
gonna
do
be
not
good.
think it will be good.
That does
But
pique
are
my
you-
interest more.
It has a solid cast.
Does it? Oh, yeah, it's
Hugo
got Hu
Weaving.
and
It's got
Stephen Lang.
Robert Sheehan, who I like quite a lot. What? What? Out of nowhere. Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
I hope you guys can still hear me because my mic just fell off the stand.
Yeah.
Literally just fell.
That was like a sight gag.
Yeah, what? All right.
Robert Sheehan, I'm a pretty big fan of.
Who's that?
I think he's going to be the male lead in this movie. He was in Misfits. He played the funny dude in
I'm
Misfits.
just going to do that later. Uh-huh.
He was in, what was it called? Killing Bono, the movie about the fictionalization of U2 as like a garage band.
That sounds great.
I
I bet it wasn't.
was medium.
Dude, this movie doesn't have an all-star cast. What are you talking about?
It's got Hugo Weaving. It's got, I was thinking
Stephen Lang.
Okay.
Hugo Weaving is in the movie, though.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I was confusing it with the cast of The Lovely Bones.
With Mark Wahlberg?
It has like Mark Wahlberg, Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, yeah, it's got Lady Bird in it.
Yeah.
Lady Bird.
Stanley Tucci.
He's in that movie?
Lovely Bones, yeah.
I never saw Lovely Bones.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer for it
good.
a few times.
I liked it.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
I liked it a lot, actually.
I bet. Anything else you got to say about Peter Jackson?
Just I still am baffled at, and I don't know what it like. I'm baffled at the fact that he ended up with this
Where he is now.
with
Lord of the Rings.
with getting the go ahead to make the Lord of the Rings movies, because unlike someone like Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
do you think that one, Lord of the Rings way more expensive than Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Two-
probably. Actually, I was looking at the Lord of the Rings budgets are $94 million each.
Yeah.
How much are the Spider-Man movies?
I don't know, but
They have
there
to
was
be up there
Sam
too,
Raimi, I don't think just number of extras, locations.
One's in New York City. I guess that's just free extras. Never mind.
I mean, I think it was free extras because they just got everybody in New Zealand to be an extra.
Come on, you give me the box office, but not the budget. I hate Google.
But it baffles me because he was like an indie horror comedy director.
I think you're wrong because all these movies are more expensive than the Lord of the Rings movies. The first Spider-Man's $139 million. The second one's $200, and the third one's $250.
On what?
On what? What?
Where did that money go?
I don't know, man.
Dude,
CGI,
no,
getting Spider-Man to swing from
the Green
building
Goblin
to building.
looks like Gumby.
I
okay?
bet, but this is
Like,
also 2001.
my man looks like he's a a toy of himself.
Like, I agree, but this is 2001.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, these movies are expensive. It's a superhero movie.
Wow.
They ain't make them for cheap. Give me another.
How much was Fellowship of the Ring? We were just looking at
94
Fellowship.
94
They were
million.
all 94 million.
It was
They
like
all
it,
cost the
it goes
same?
like 94, 93, 94.
What?
Well, take into account those were all filmed at once, and they probably have a collective budget
Yes,
just
okay.
divided
Yeah,
into
yeah,
three.
yeah.
That makes more sense
They
as to
had
why it's cheaper.
helicopters. I guess they probably had helicopters for Spider-Man.
I'm pretty sure there are helicopters in Spider-Man.
I'm pretty sure there are helicopters with most movies.
Yeah, but I mean, like in the movie, there are helicopters.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. I think there's that one blooper in Lord of the Rings where just a car drives by in the background.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. I gotta see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
But it's just weird to me, and I guess how much of it is just there was not the same level of expectation when mining a series for movies, for blockbuster movies
right.
from a series, like, because I guess they were like these, but they made them all at once, which is a pretty huge commitment.
That is a huge commitment.
'Cause I'm
to
like,
make.
you
They
know.
spent like, what's 9 times 3? They spent almost $300 million on these movies, shot them all at once, and then
they could have sucked.
And they could have sucked. Or like, even if they didn't suck, people could have just not gone and seen them. You
Yeah.
know, like they're like movies about Middle Earth. Like, I myself am not even interested in that kind of stuff, and I could see.
I mean, the
failing.
cast was lit, though, right?
Cast
like
is lit.
cast would put a lot of people in the seats.
Well, I think also the cast.
Like, who is not like Sean Astin, the guy from the Goonies?
Yeah, but like, here's the thing.
Get me in there.
We only know Sean Astin. We only know Sean
Yeah,
Bean.
no,
we only know Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
we only know
yeah.
all these people
Totally
because of Lord of the Rings.
Sean Bean.
Andy Serkis too.
Sean Bean was in Bond and stuff.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. But nobody knew Sean Bean's name until then. Same with Vigo. Maybe Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee. you
Eastern
can get away with.
Promises?
I don't know when that's from.
I don't know either.
Okay. History of Violence came out in 2005. I know that's after. And that's a good one.
What's his name? Christopher Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm saying him and
I
Ian
was
McKellen were
wondering if
big
he-
names.
So I was wondering, did he get Christopher Lee because Christopher Lee was in a lot of schlocky horror stuff? Do you
don't
think
know.
they like had a
Probably.
relationship?
He probably had
Because he's
some
in
sort
like
of-
yeah.
Yeah.
Like Howling 2, Your
Yep.
Sister is a
Yep.
Werewolf
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I would imagine.
He's
now
in all
that
those
I think about
all those Dracula ass movies that are like
Oregon
Dude,
coming
I
out.
watched
of
Van
coffin.
Helsing over the weekend.
The Hugh Jackman
Oh
movie.
my God.
I remember I rented that off Netflix in middle school, and even then I was like, I don't like this.
It was pretty painful.
Yeah, I'd
but you know,
imagine.
and like some of it was like funny painful, but a lot of it was just painful.
painful.
Yeah. But these movies are not. Oh, his partner Fran also co-composed several pieces on the soundtrack, which is cool.
Very.
And yeah, they wrote like the three scripts were each like 140 something pages long.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That sounds about right for being
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
a
yeah,
minute per
no.
page, bro.
But it's like they were all written in the
Yeah.
same time because they had to have
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
continuity. They had to.
Yeah.
So I guess just Lord of the Rings is very weird
Yeah.
to me.
And the fact that they got this guy to make them who made all these schlocky horror movies. That's pretty weird.
Yeah. And like not just schlocky, but like campy, like satirical splatter movies.
That's what schlock is to me.
I guess.
It more camp. But yeah, I would actually kind of kill to see Peter Jackson do like a high budget one of these movies again.
A high budget like splatter.
Yeah, like if he redid Bad Taste but with $50 million. That would be a good time.
No one would see it.
I would.
Only people like us. Only nerds.
Well, no, here's the thing, because that could still appeal to people. It's like a horror movie about aliens. You market that right.
I mean,
you market it right, man. You can sell anything.
I guess so. I guess if it's about alien, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think splatter sells anymore.
No, not really. There has to be a resurgence one day. There's going to be a movie that comes along one of these years that's just going to be disgusting, and everybody's going to flock to see it. Probably not, though.
What's
We're all desensitized.
No, we had one that broke through as much as people hate it and hate the effect that it's had on movies.
Oh no, I think I know what you're gonna say.
Was the one that I'm forgetting, the Human Centipede?
That's what I thought. Okay, cool.
That's the one where people were like, and like everybody's monocles shattered.
But the thing is, those are all supposed to be like serious, gross movies. Those movies, there's no fun to be had there. I'm saying there's got to be like another fun, energetic schlock movie that's going to come along.
Last fun horror movie was, I don't know, like Get Out?
Get Out's fun, yeah. But that's not like
Although
a
I
splatter.
said that Get Out was fun to somebody, and they were like, wow, that's messed up. Like, you think that's fun? And I'm like, it's written to be, there are fun elements in it.
Yeah, like, I remember that movie theater experience was like one of the only times where I've been in a movie theater and had like the audience like saying things during the movie, and I was like, it enhanced it. Like in the end, when the TSA agent shows up, like people in the audience were going nuts for it, and I was right there
like
with
that
them.
Movie has laugh lines and stuff. Like
that movie is meant to be fun.
Yeah,
I think whoever said that was probably just worried about something.
I think it's just
racism,
like,
probably.
Well, it's like it's a privileged stance to be
that?
enjoying that.
Yeah, okay.
Like I don't know. I mean, if it were serious, like if it were, I mean, and there are serious parts, but like, it's fun. Other fun horror movies.
I don't know. I'd have to look at a list of horror movies if we're being honest.
Shaun of the Dead, all of those, whatever.
But that's like horror comedy.
Yeah, and also those are now like 10 years old or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Oops. I was gonna say Slither, but that's 12 years old. Have you seen that movie?
No, remember we were. That was gonna be in one of our other episodes, but we didn't end up talking about it.
We're probably not gonna do that. Anyway, looks like that's all we got today for Industry Professionals. I'm Dan. That was Ben, who decided not to say I'm Ben.
I'm Ben.
Yep, that's it.